Not everyone who is quiet is afraid. Not everyone who holds their tongue is confused. Sometimes, silence is not emptiness. It's a space filled with waiting, filled with careful attention. Those who are silent sometimes do so not because they lack words, but because they are waiting for the right moment, the right question, or the right reason to speak. In a valley nestled between thick, ancient forests, there was a village so small, so peaceful that most maps forgot to mark it. It was a place where the days moved slowly, and nature's rhythms guided the people's lives. Birds sang in the morning mist, children played in the fields, and elders told stories by the fireside. This was the home of a boy named Kavi. From the moment he was born, something was different about him. He had eyes like twilight, soft and deep, reflecting a quiet wisdom beyond his years. But the village soon noticed that Kavi never spoke. Not a single word. He did not cry loudly as babies often do. He did not babble or try to imitate sounds. His lips rarely moved, and when they did, no sound came out. His mother loved him deeply, but often wondered if her son could ever tell her how he felt. Neighbors whispered their theories. Some feared he was cursed. Others believed something was broken inside him. Children teased him by making exaggerated silent faces, mimicking the silence they thought was strange. Adults, unsure how to treat him, lowered their voices when he was near, as if silence were contagious and fragile. But what they did not see was that Kavi was not empty. Far from it. His silence was full of noticing, full of understanding. He heard the softest sighs, the cracking of old pottery, the unspoken sadness behind a forced smile. He could tell when someone was lonely even if they laughed. He felt the tremble in a friend's hands, or the catch in a mother's breath. Kavi didn't need words to understand. His heart was listening. Life in the village was simple but not without hardship. People worked the land, tended animals, and relied on each other. Seasons changed slowly but surely, bringing rains, harvests, and sometimes storms. Despite Kavi's silence, life went on around him. He moved quietly through the village, helping where he could. He fixed broken wheels with nimble fingers, carried water for the elderly without being asked, and helped children find lost animals. His actions spoke louder than any words could. One summer afternoon, the air was heavy with heat. The sun hung high, casting shimmering waves above the dry earth. Suddenly a spark flew from a cooking fire in the bustling village market. Dry leaves and wooden stalls caught fire quickly. Panic spread like wildfire itself. People shouted warnings, scrambling to save their belongings, yelling at one another over the rising flames. Chaos swallowed the market. No one seemed to think clearly. Fear clouded their minds. They ran in circles, stepping on each other, and the fire gained ground. But in the center of the chaos stood Kavi, calm, steady, unshaken. He saw a man frozen in fear, blocking a narrow path. Kavi tapped his shoulder and pointed urgently to a safer route. The man hesitated, then followed. Nearby, a wooden cart teetered on the edge of collapse, and trapped beneath it was a frightened child. Without a word, Kavi rushed over, lifting the cart just enough to pull the child free. His hands were strong and sure, his eyes calm and focused. He made gestures, guiding people away from danger, pointing to clear paths, signaling when to stop or move. No shouting, no panic, just clear, quiet action. When the fire finally died down, the village chief walked through the charred remains, still in shock at how so many had survived. "How can a boy who says nothing save so many?" he asked, approaching Kavi. The boy looked up briefly, bowed his head slightly, and without a word turned and walked away. Days later, a wandering monk arrived in the village. He had heard stories of the fire and of the silent boy. Curious, he sought Kavi out. He found him sitting beneath an ancient tree by the river, his gaze steady on the flowing water. The monk sat down beside him. For long moments neither spoke, and in that shared silence, a smile came to the monk's face. He understood something the others had missed. "Many people speak," said the monk softly, "but few truly listen. Your silence is not empty, it is full of attention, full of understanding." Kavi looked at him, eyes calm but curious. He didn't answer. He didn't have to. The monk felt the truth in that stillness. Word spread quickly that the monk had come to meet the silent boy. The village's attitude began to shift. People watched Kavi more closely. They saw how he observed before acting, how he helped quietly, without expecting praise, fixing tools, carrying water, caring for the old. No words needed, only kindness. Then after a night of heavy rain, the river beside the village swelled beyond its banks. Morning came with rushing water flooding the streets. Fear gripped the villagers again. They shouted, scrambled for their belongings, and chaos threatened to overtake them. But Kavi climbed a tree in the village square. From his high perch, he pointed repeatedly toward higher ground. Some ignored him, others listened. The ones who followed his silent guidance were saved once again. After the flood, the chief approached Kavi. Tears filled his eyes. "Why?" he asked. "Why do you help us always, even when others mock you?" Kavi paused, then spoke, for the first time in his life, a single soft sentence. "Because I see what they don't." The words carried weight, not because they were loud, but because they were true. The villagers were stunned, not by the fact he spoke, but by the meaning behind his words. He showed them that sometimes, the deepest truths live quietly in the hearts of those who listen. That evening, the monk asked Kavi, "Why speak now, after all this time?" Kavi smiled gently. "I've always had a voice, just not one people could hear, but I've been listening to it, every day." The monk nodded knowingly. "That is the voice that matters most." From that day on, the village changed. People stopped demanding noise. They began listening, truly listening, with their hearts. When they came to Kavi for advice, he didn't give them answers, he asked questions. In those questions, people found answers deep within themselves. Kavi, once the village outcast, became their guide, not because he shouted the loudest, but because he spoke only when it mattered. And when he did, his words carried great weight. Born in silence, shaped by listening, delivered with peace. Years passed. Kavi grew older. His hair turned silver, his hands wrinkled, but inside he remained the same. Quiet, kind, steady. He left no speeches, no books, no fame, but his legacy lived on, in how people treated one another, how they listened patiently, and how they paused before judging. In the end, Kavi proved this. You don't have to shout to lead. You don't have to speak to matter. You only have to listen deeply, to the world around you, and to the voice within. Because those who find their voice in silence are the ones the world remembers, long after the noise fades away. If this story moves you, remember your silence might be your greatest strength. Let it speak.